Welcome back to the workshop, guys. As you can see behind me, I've just bought a new work truck and it desperately needs a nice sturdy lumber rack on the back of it. So that's what we're going to be building today. I've just picked up a bunch of steel for this project and I've probably way overdone it in terms of the wall thickness and dimensions of this steel, but I thought a little bit of extra strength can't be a bad thing in this situation. No going back now. Both these miters on either side are all beveled and ready to get some welds in there. I've set up this side first and I've just got blankets everywhere that's exposed to make sure I don't damage the paint. Got the welder set up here, so let's tack this thing together. Got both of these miters welded up and now I'm just going to grind everything flat and then we can chuck it back on the truck to make sure everything fits before we weld in these corner bits. Fits perfectly. Now that this base plate is all finished up, we can start thinking about cutting up some of this bigger box section to make up the rest of the frame. So the design is something like this. Here's the base plate we've just made, and then the larger 50mm box section will make the uprights and the cross beam, and then I have some 25mm box section which will make these two uprights and these cross braces. But other than that, I'll probably switch this handle to the back here just to eliminate any wind whistle, but that and also this little crossbar here will be made out of some circular stock. So let's start cutting up some steel. Okay, I've got both of these uprights cut and I've done a little test piece here. This is how I'm going to be doing the angles. I want to keep it all one piece so that the outside edge is nice and smooth. I've just cut the angle in there to match the shape of the cab. I can just bend that and then I'll be able to weld that up and the outside edge will be nice and clean. The idea with these is that I can just chuck them in the vise and it should be pretty easy to just bend that down, and there's the angle. there's been a little bit of a change of plan with the design because I really want to be able to carry a full-size sheet of plywood or any type of sheet good on top of this. With the angle that I've just cut on these uprights, there's not going to be quite 1250 millimeters across here, which I really want to get those sheet goods in there. So what I'm going to end up having to do is just cutting off those little ears and having this cross brace go all the way across the top and then coming out a little bit further than the rest of the rack. So I'll redo this drawing and then show you what I come up with. So it'll probably be something like this. I might switch out the box section on the ends here just for some flat bar stock, but that'll get me the extra width that I want. So let's get on with it. Welder's on. Got it in the vise just so that I can pull down on it a little bit and get that angle right where I want it. Tacked both of these together now, and you can see they're identical angles. So now we can finish off these welds. Got these uprights cut to size. I've also put chamfers around all the edges ready for welding, and I've filed off any burrs on the interior edges. Now it's time to set these up and we can tack them in place. I'm no precision welder, but I'm pretty happy with the way those look. Made up 2 of these end caps, which will be welded onto the ends of the crossbar. This one's set up, so let's weld both of these in place. Getting to the end of the day now, but got these welded up and ground flat. It's all set up on the rest of the frame here, so I'm going to weld it and then I'll get to the rest tomorrow. Just got into the workshop this morning. It's a little later than usual because it's a Saturday, but I've hopefully got some timber coming in late next week for a big job, so I really want to get cracking on this rack as soon as possible while I've got the time. So let's get stuck in. It's getting heavy now. What I'm thinking is 400 mil to the edge of that upright, then that'll give me plenty of space for the visibility in the rear view. Let's do it. So halfway through welding on that second crossbar, I ran out of gas in my welder, so I'll need to wait to get a new tank on Monday. Finished up all the welds on these cross beams and grinded them all nice and flat. The next thing to do is to get these details put in. Here's a little test piece, super quick and rough, for proof of concept on how I'm going to bend these little details, and then I'll just come back and weld up all those seams and grind it flat. That's the first one cut and bent, and it'll go on there something like that. Now after grinding off all the welds, this is what we're left with. It's in no ways perfect, but for this application it'll do just fine. I've just ground these little handles down nice and smooth, so these are going to be going at the top of the rack right about there, and then also we're going to be welding these on. Right, I just got back from the hardware store, bought some mesh, and I'd rather go with a thicker gauge for this application, but without buying a full sheet from a steel supplier, this was the best I could find. And this was only 20 bucks, and a full sheet would have been over 100. After putting in the order for all the stainless steel fittings for this rack today, I'm really not wanting to spend any more than that. So let's cut this up and weld it in. Just installed the rack. Here's all the stainless steel fittings that I bought. Very happy with it. The only thing is on these back three here, at the back of the tray, it's very thin sheet metal that those bolts are going into, and I feel like I'm not quite getting enough strength out of those. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is pull the rack off and weld in some little bits of steel right where those fixings go through, just to give it a little bit of extra strength. Other than that, it's looking awesome. I've hit all of these mounting plates with the wire brush and then a little bit of sandpaper, and then just clean them all off with some spirits so they are ready for paint. And now I'm going to use this product here, which I've used in the past and it holds up really well, so let's chuck a coat on. As you can probably tell by my method, I wasn't really too worried about a little bit of overspray because all of this is covered by the tough deck anyway. So as long as I protected the cab, that's all I was worrying about. Drilled all the holes to connect the plastic topper for the rack, and now I'm just working through the different taps, getting it up to the M6 thread. And the plastic's on there. All the stainless steel fittings are nice and countersunk, and I put a little bevel on both the edges with the router, so it's nice and smooth, and it'll protect the powder coating on the steel once I get that done. Just got the rack back from getting painted, so let's unpack it and see how it looks on the truck. Okay, so this headache rack is all done. I'm sure you've probably noticed by now that I haven't got to the rear upright portion of the rack yet, and that's just because I've got a lot going on in the workshop at the moment, so I'll need to wait till I've got a bit more spare time to get that finished up. But for now, this is finished, and I'm stoked with how strong it is. As you can see, it's super rigid, which is awesome. And I ended up going with a thermoplastic coating, which is what the guys down at my local powder coaters recommended. Powder Tech. It's supposed to be a super hard wearing finish, which is perfect for this application. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and stay tuned for part 2 where I finish the rear portion of the rack once I get the time. But other than that, I've got a few other videos in the works, so I'll see you in the next one.